Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Our Town, the show about Rochester, learns how Collider is supporting local entrepreneurs. And we talk with Rochester Women's Magazine about how they're empowering women in the community. All that and so much more coming up next on Our Town, the show about Rochester. Coming to you from 125 Live in Rochester, Minnesota, Our Town. We are joined today by Juliana Silva from Collider, here to talk to us about how Collider and how its vision for supporting entrepreneurs in the city has grown. Welcome to Our Town, Juliana.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Collider is and how it's grown over the years?
So Collider started as a for-profit back in 2015, and we were on top of Blue Dog, where Blue Dog is right now. And we have transitioned from this co-working space into a nonprofit who serves early stage entrepreneurs from Rochester. And now we are providing education, startup business support, and we are amplifying the stories of our local entrepreneurs. We recently achieved a new milestone in our story, which was receiving our first state grant, which will allow us to serve a new set of people in the community, the minority groups. And so we will have a business incubator program.
That's really exciting, and what a transformation to kind of go from a for-profit entity to a nonprofit now that's supporting quite a few entrepreneurs in our community. You know, oftentimes the term entrepreneur can be a little bit misunderstood. I think sometimes people's mind goes directly to something like a tech startup. I need to be doing something like that in order to be considered an entrepreneur. How does Collider define entrepreneur? And, you know, what would you say to someone who wants to start like a food business or, you know, something that's quite different from, you know, say a tech startup and the support that Collider can provide?
So entrepreneurship is just the process of starting a business. And it's an endeavor that encompasses individuals from any background and from all kinds of industries. So at Collider, that's one of the reasons why we are working and is on eliminating all the barriers that entrepreneurs may have when starting a business. So anyone with a great idea can start a business, and is not necessarily building a tech giant. No, it could be a food business. It's a great idea, so go pursue it, and we will be there to support you.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit, so you've got this incubator program that's just starting. Co-Starters is also a program that Collider has been working on for the last few years. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Co-Starters is a different program. It's a 9-week program where what we want to do at Co-Starters is to solve all the critical questions that are around starting a business. So in Co-Starters, we will refine your business model, we will solve those questions, and the idea is that based on the lean startup concept, that is move super fast, develop this minimal viable product, so you will start the business as cheap and as fast as possible without spending too much time or too much money just in creating a product that you haven't tested before. So Co-Starter's approach is very, very practical, and the idea is just to get off ground as soon as possible with whatever you have right now.
I know you mentioned a little bit about, so much of the work that Collider does is kind of thinking about what those barriers are that are getting in the way of entrepreneurship. We know that we have a lot of minority entrepreneurs in this community. What are a couple of things that Collider has sort of been focusing on, what's specifically to that community?
So, two specific things at this point. One is that we have been increasing the participation of minority groups, specifically to the Hispanic community. We've been doing that by the one-to-one business startup support, by doing business support in Spanish, and through the incubator program.
As we're wrapping up here in the last couple of seconds, how can people connect to the resources at Collider and just learn more?
So You can either visit our website and fill out our intake form to get the startup support, subscribe to our newsletters to stay tuned about all the things that we are doing, or visiting our co-working space, which is on the 6th floor of the Bio Business Center. And we have a spectacular view, so visit us.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Juliana, for sharing with us, and we hope to hear more about what Collider is up to in the future.
Thank you.
Be sure to stick around. We have much more coming your way on Our Town. We get some computer help in this week's Our Spotlight, and we learn about Rochester Women's Magazine and how they're working to empower women in the community.
The best way to explain Sports Mentorship Academy is that we're a combination of athletics and academics. We use basketball to change lives. Hi, my name is Andre Crockett, and I'm the Executive Director of Sports Mentorship Academy. And what I mean by change lives is that the majority of the kid who comes into our program doesn't have a male figure. And so we want to be that positive male figure that could transform and change a kid's life. Most of these kids, they see me as their father, and I see them as, as a son. So we are more than just coaches. So they rely on us to do other things which a father typically do for their sons. Like we take them on college visits. We provide clothing and providing food, the necessary stuff for them to achieve and for them to be successful. Some of the kids was in gang violence, and some kids were, in activities that was antisocial, behaviors, and seeing some of them put guns down and other things down that could have been very harmful to someone else. A typical child that comes to our program depends on the referral base, because we get referral bases from probation, the county, some from the parents, some from the community, and many of the kids from this northwest side of town, because it was low income, will utilize the YMCA. One of the reasons why we over here is that the YMCA closed. If this place was open, we're gonna remodel it, and we're gonna have a place where kids to the northwest, because there was a lack of after school programming, that they can walk in and have activities. So right now, the activity they can get in our STEM program, that's BMX program, they can get in our gaming program, they can get in our sports program, and our health and wellness program, and then we also offer tutoring and academic help. We take basketball and make it more than a game. So typically, if you probably see us practice, it's not your normal type of practice, because we also deal with mental health along with sports.
Knock these two down, 2 in a row. 2 in a row, y'all done, get a break.
So my background in social work allowed me to be able to do it, and teaching them some social and emotional learning within the sports. And so we do work closely with schools too, to make sure that the kids are doing well in school as well as when they come here. So the biggest life lessons I think that kids really get out of this thing is that how do we work together as a team, right? And what it look like to be successful. When they graduate from our program, they come back and give back.
Hey, we gotta get some spacing. Naomi?
Our motto was always create leaders. Leaders create leaders. And so if you're going through our mentorship program, you're guaranteed to come out here with some leadership skills. So the biggest life lessons I think that kids really get out of this thing is that how do we work together as a team, right? And what it look like to be successful.
Blocks, right? And then y'all figure it out.
That's why we have different stations, different variations of stuff, so the kids know how to govern themselves on the court and outside the court. Govern really means, right, to steer their own life, right? If you look at the root word of it, it's like a ship with a steering wheel, and it drives it to where it needs to be at.
For more information about this story and other Our Town features, connect with us on Facebook, Twitter at KSMQ #OurTown, or ksmq.org/OurTown.
Hi, this is Danielle Till with Our Town Spotlight, where we cover happenings and really cool things across Rochester. Today I have with me Vince Guerra with the Computer Resource Center. Welcome.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you because you're doing some really cool things at 125 Live. Most importantly, what is your role with the Computer Resource Center?
So at Computer Resource Center, I work on, I'm a computer technician, but I do Macs, PCs, do house calls, kind of the whole shebang. You know.
Which we do need you in the community.
Yeah.
And there are some classes that you offer at 125 Live. Can you kind of capture one of the intentions of the classes that you offer?
I mean, in general, trying to empower the elderly community. They get targeted the most for scams, so a lot of my classes are on how to identify scams, what to do if you have been scammed. But I mean, general, just hey, you have an iPhone, do you need help learning how to use it? Just trying to get people more familiar with technology, willing to come into the TLC here, because they have a great group of people that are volunteers to help them just feel better using technology. It's something new, it's not going to go away, so we want to try to help them thrive in this new environment with technology.
And with those changes, that means the threats change as well. What is a really good example of a scam that you kind of cover in your class?
So right now, especially the last month or so, a lot of stuff targeting people with iPhones, telling you your iCloud storage is full. I mean, in general,
it looks innocent.
It does. I mean, they always pretend to be a company
right.
Netflix, Amazon. But because it's new, people kind of just take it at face value, oh, I don't want to lose my data.
Right.
They click the link, they call the phone number, and they give their money away. So it's really just to teach them, hey, take a step back, don't be scared. Let's read through it, or just give us a call, and we can kind of advise you on what to do.
That's really cool. And what is the response to individuals that are attending these classes?
It's good. I've seen a lot of kind of getting a little bit of group here, a lot of the same customers. But I mean, it's been great to see them kind of learn more, be coming with me with more questions, kind of building upon the knowledge that they had. And they want to learn more. So it's really fun to see them really latch on to stuff and be more confident, hey, I've been doing this is cool, could you help me with this and that? So it's been great.
And that really is the reward, right? You're helping empower them, connect them to resources. Where can people find out more information and about the classes?
So you can go to our website, crccomputer.com. You go to book an appointment, and on there they'll actually have a link to all the classes that I offer. I'm usually here once a week, sometimes more, teaching a class on a variety of different topics. So
awesome. Well, people know where to go when they need some computer support then, huh?
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
This is Danielle Till with Our Town Spotlight.
Hello once again, this is Michael Wojak with your Our Town Legislative Rundown. We had an earthquake in New York City this last week and a solar eclipse, and despite speculation otherwise, the rapture did not in fact happen, and the Minnesota legislature is back at work. We have a pretty good idea of some things that are going to be moving in this session and some things that are not due to the committee deadlines. One thing that appears to be dead now is the missing middle housing bill, which would impact people's abilities to build more and more affordable housing in communities around the state of Minnesota. That's not likely to see action this year. Something that is likely to see action as moved in the Senate is a tenant bill of rights, and a couple of key provisions in there deal with things that impact the community of Rochester and communities around the state. First of which is impacts that no longer will you be able to penalize tenants if they're calling for law enforcement. And this seems like it should be common sense, but a lot of times communities, if they have a persistent problem property and there are a lot of police calls, they have crime-free multi-housing ordinances that would penalize the landlord if there are just too many police calls. Well, the unintended consequence of that is a lot of times that you might have people in mental health crisis. That's good that they're calling for emergency response, or you might actually have victims of crime there. What this bill is saying is it's not okay to punish the tenant as a result of making those calls, and that's going to be a protection that's not currently in place, and it's going to force cities like Rochester to reconsider crime-free multi-housing requirements. And Rochester's looked at this a number of times over the years. Additionally, most renters will use a social security number when renting, but if you're undocumented or don't have a social security number for some other reason, you can now use an ITIN, which is a common tax reporting number, and you cannot be discriminated against for using that number. This has been Michael Wojak with your Our Town Legislative Rundown.
Hi, I'm Danielle Teal with Our Town. I'm here with Arlen Gagnon at this beautiful facility, which by the way, go ahead and share the name of it.
It's the Charles E. Gagnon Museum and Sculpture Garden.
Arlen, can you share a little bit more about the museum and what is offered here?
Well, the museum has 3 goals. It's an art museum that features the 50-year legacy of one American artist who chose to live in Rochester, Minnesota. It's also an educational museum because it shows and tells the stories behind each sculpture, how they were created, where they were commissioned for, and it's also a healing museum in the middle of a medical community. The healing aspect is that art is language, and the majority of these sculptures are very hopeful, they're very uplifting, they're very spiritually involving.
And there's a reasoning behind all the windows in the museum, which I think is quite beautiful. It's because the detail is so important for the sculptures.
And also, the natural light's the most honest light, and the light will change everything about sculpture. You notice that not only are the walls are white, but the block walls are very light gray. There's very little hung on the walls because as Chuck would work on his sculptures, he would hold them up, and that background had to be quiet and peaceful so that he could focus on the details of whatever it is he was creating.
Thank you so much, Arlen. This is Danielle Teal with Our Town Walkabout.
We are joined today by Emily Watkins and Acacia Ward of Rochester Women's Magazine, here to share with us about the growth of the magazine and its expanding vision to empower women in our community. Welcome to Our Town. Welcome back, Emily, and welcome, Acacia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
So, Emily, we had you on when you first sort of took the helm of the magazine, and so much has changed over that time, obviously in our world, but certainly for the magazine and the publication. Can you tell us a little bit about what Rochester Women's Magazine is and what its mission and vision is today?
Yeah, so we're obviously a print magazine, and it's been a print magazine since 2000, and we continue that tradition, publishing 6 issues every year. We've also been expanding our website to have original content there. We also have a really active Facebook page and Instagram page, and then we also do events to bring people together. And our mission is to empower women through stories, events, and resources, and we continue to do that on all of our platforms and tell the stories of local women and make people feel good.
That's a great mission, making people feel good. It's really important. Acacia, you've been working with Rochester Women's Magazine and have really been a part of some really innovative things that have happened. Can you tell us a little bit about specifically your role with the parenthood department of the magazine?
Yeah. So I've been with the magazine for almost 2 years now, and this last fall, Emily had asked me about like what I would think about starting something new and expanding that, and that was parenthood. And since then, I've just been taking it on and enjoying it. I wanted to create a space for parents to come and just feel safe to tell their stories and relate to other women or other parents, and capture all the journeys from before birth to end of life, because parenting is a struggle, you know. So
it is.
We should do it together.
I love that. Parenting is a struggle. It is a joy. It is a lot of things, but
Exactly.
it is part of the story of women and other parents in the community.
Yeah.
Rochester Women's Magazine has also been hosting a lot of programming and events, as you mentioned. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of this programming and how it helps to build community and empower the women in our area?
Yeah, so before I owned this magazine, I had a fitness studio, and one of the things that I loved about it was the community that was formed. It was mainly women who were together, and it was just a really great place for women to come. And so I knew that I wanted to bring some of that aspect to the magazine. And so we started with just having a kind of release get-together every time we'd put out a new issue, and we would invite people to come, we'd invite the story subjects to come, and then we started to invite advertisers to come so that they could kind of make their ad come to life. And then we hired Melissa Hinderman to expand our events, and so now we have a release event for every issue, and then we also host 2 big events. We do a Restore and Rejuvenate retreat in the spring and Celebrate Women in Business in the fall. And we feel like that really helps women to discover maybe another side of them. We, as women, work really hard, and I think sometimes we get really wrapped up in our jobs, families, and how we show up to those things. And sometimes I think we forget who we really are. And so, especially Restore and Rejuvenate, we feel that that gives women a chance to explore kind of another side of themselves, maybe figure out, discover something that's new to them, gives them a chance to really relax and enjoy themselves and come together in community. I think women can also feel kind of lonely, and so those events are really good for that. I think it helps when people generally are together, sharing stories, sharing struggles, and knowing that they're not alone, and knowing that we're all going through this together.
Well, sounds lovely, of course. And you also mentioned the Women in Business event as well. I know there's a special issue that you have of the different women's businesses in town each year. Why is that important? Why is it important for us to be able to highlight women in business in our community?
I think that, again, women work really hard, and I think it's really hard for women sometimes to talk about themselves and share why what they do is important, and how they make the world a better place. And so this is a platform for women to be able to do that, to share who they are a little bit, who they are in their organization, or what their business stands for, what sets them apart maybe, and to be able to get a little recognition for what they do.
For sure, give people their flowers, right? I think that's important.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about who contributes and edits to Rochester Women's Magazine? And my sense is that it's a pretty communal process. And how does that model ensure that you are getting diverse voices in all of your issues?
Well, we have kind of a core team of people who work together to do a lot of the business decision making and overall planning. And then we also have a couple graphic designers, photographer, editor, and then we gather stories from writers all over. We have sort of our writers that we go to a lot who contribute stories, but then we're always looking for new writers. I like to have a team that has some diversity on it so that we're able to reach out into other communities to find all the amazing stories that are happening, but also other contributors to our team.
As we're wrapping up here, what do you see as the future of Rochester Women's Magazine, and how can people just stay connected with what you all are doing?
As far as the future, I'm just really excited to grow parenthood. There's a lot in store, and I think the opportunities within the magazine are amazing, and they're just going to continue to grow, and for everybody.
I look forward to hearing more.
Yeah.
So we think that print is going to be around for a long, long time, especially our magazine. I feel like it really is a special part of Rochester, and people anticipate it and really love it. But we're also putting a lot of resources into our website, including parenthood, and our events too. We really want to, we feel that it's important to create a community, and so those events are great for that. And so, yeah, our website is rwmagazine.com, and we have all of our events there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for joining us, and we look forward to keeping track of all the wonderful things that the magazine's up to.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us today. I hope you learned as much as I did about all that's going on in our city and the people making it happen. For more wonderful content produced right here in Rochester, please be sure to join us on Facebook and Twitter at #ArtTown. I'm Nicole Fanoy-Mhara, the host of Our Town, the show about Rochester. We'll see you next time.
Funding for this program is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.